you're a threat. You're a threat to Biden. You're a threat to the DNC. You're a threat to the establishment Democrat machine, as Trump is to the Republicans. Let's talk a little bit about last night. You put out some research, some opinions today that says, and I'm reading, the GOP is out of touch. And you talk specifically about starting with Oliver Anthony. Can I ask you, is the GOP out of touch, or was Fox and the moderators out of touch?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it seemed to me that debate really seemed surreal and tone deaf. It seemed like it was almost a rehash of all these sort of Reagan-era slogans. I'm going to be tough on China. I'm going to be tough on Russia. I'm going to be tough on crime. I'm going to be tough on women who are trying to practice bodily autonomy. But the issues that I'm running into, and I have a really interesting base because, my voters are a lot of Republicans, independents, and Democrats. So I have overlapping bases with a lot of the guys that you saw debating last night. And I'm not hearing any of those concerns. Even, I have strong opinions on Ukraine, but the public is not really focused on that. They're focused on how to pay for food, gasoline costs, how to pay for childcare, how to get their kids out of the house into their own houses, which, is completely out of reach for children today. How to pay for pharmaceutical drugs and health care to keep themselves healthy. So, and we didn't hear any of that stuff. We now have last week, we're in a situation right now where the average income in this country has never been this way. The average income is now $5,000 less than the cost of living. So Americans, in order to make up that deficit, are putting their debt on credit cards. And last week, we exceeded, for the first time in history, $1 trillion in debt in 3 years. We've added $330 billion, $1 trillion in credit card debts, and these American families are paying 22% interest on that, which is going ultimately to, these big conglomerates, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And it's this whole kind of mechanism of corporate corruption and collusion between the government and these huge corporations, which are also driving the Ukraine war and so many other things that are wrong with this country today. Kids cannot pay for houses. The housing costs have gone up from $200,000 to $215,000 2 years ago, $400,000 now, and the interest rates have gone from 1% to 7%. So that house, which was unaffordable 2 years ago, is now 10 times as expensive for a kid. And I'm running to get, into that generation, which are the same age as my kids. Nobody's buying a house. When we were that age, we were all figuring out ways to buy a house. Nobody talked about that last night. Nobody talked about how they're going to solve any of these problems for the declining middle class. There was not one policy offered, not one word about it, other than Oliver Anthony's song, which targets this directly, which they all paid homage to. But all of the issues he's talking about in that song about the depression and the despair and the deteriorating middle class, none of that was addressed last night. It was really, to me, it was surreal.